Well, let's talk about appointments and how our appointments are different versus a traditional high street estate agency appointments, because I think that's a big part of why an estate agent gets paid.
I think the key, do you want me to go?
Yeah, you can.
Yeah, I think the key, especially from my point of view, and what I found is flexibility. Flexibility, one, for the buyer, but two, flexibility for me in terms of I'm not dictated by, right, I can only do an appointment between 10 o'clock and 11 o'clock because I need to be back in the office for 12 o'clock for a meeting.
Yep.
So, and from a buyer's perspective, if they want to go first thing in the morning, and I've done many viewings on some of the big houses we've got, 7:30 in the morning, 8 o'clock in the morning.
Before they go to work?
Before they go to work, on the way into work. I've done appointments on the developments in Slough at 7 o'clock, 7:30, 8 o'clock at night on the way home from work. I've done appointments in the afternoon at their lunch breaks. I've met one guy who was going to the doctors, and then after he finished his doctors he wanted to come and have a quick look into the apartments. So it's the flexibility what I find, one, the buyers like, but two, from a vendor or a developer's point of view, they know that it's me showing the people around their properties, around their commodity. So it's not just somebody who doesn't know the development. I've been there numerous times, I've watched the build, I understand how properties are built through my experience. So therefore I can explain to the buyer the benefits of why this is such a good place to buy.
And I think the other end of the spectrum is the vendor, because what I found that vendors really enjoy, that I try and do more often than not, is keep the viewings kind of almost clubbed together, because for a vendor it's a huge inconvenience actually tidying up for a viewing, especially at the moment you've got to get people out of the house. But when you can actually go right on a half-hour window and a buyer says, look, can I do this date? Well, unfortunately we can't do that date, but we could do this date, and it works around the vendor. As long as the buyer's happy with it, if they can't make that time scale, obviously we'll do something different. But for the vendor, they then get 3, 4, 5 viewings in a row. It's one set of tidying up, they can stage the house perfectly, and it also helps when it comes to offers and things like that as well, because everyone knows where they stand, there's less gazumping.
100%. I mean, I'd say about 80% of the properties we've sold have all been, sort of back-to-back viewings within a week. For the seller, it's so much easier, and it creates that competitive environment, doesn't it? And actually it ties in with something about sort of making appointments for appointment's sake. So for us now, we're saying to people, can you make this time? How keen are you to view it? And if they really want to see the property and make the effort, they're going to manoeuvre a few things around to make that time. That's what we think, and that's what's been working. Before, it would be a numbers game. Throw them in and get loads of people through at any time that wasn't convenient to the vendor, because you wanted just to get people through the door. Where we're not about that.
Make your calls, book your viewings. More viewings mean more deals. And
it's just
nonsense.
It doesn't work. You don't need you need the right people to view the house, and you need to create an environment, and that's how we can do that. And one thing you touched on was about those meetings and things like that. I remember how every morning you would have, I'm sure it's the same in most agencies, a morning meeting that would ramble on for sort of half an hour, then an hour, then an hour and a half, where you couldn't do any appointments. But what you were saying, we're doing appointments at 8 in the morning, 8:30 if it's convenient for people, before they go on their school run and things like that, because that's where we're able to do it. So flexibility and communication.
I think we're changing as well the way the buyers perceive how they can view, because before it was always like, that's what I want to view, I want to go that time. Okay, you can't go that time. It's like a doctor. If you want to go to doctors on a Saturday or a Sunday, you can't, because they're not open. So why should we be any different? So if a buyer phones up and says, right, I want to go Sunday morning, and you can't do Sunday morning for whatever reason, it's like, no, we're doing viewings there on a Monday or a Tuesday. If they're keen, they will change their plans and their views and how they look at it, especially in the world we're in at the moment. And
the backup is, we're not tied by offices being open. So if they can't make that time, we are flexible. I've done 7:30 at night viewings, much like you. We will accommodate the client, but it has to be done around the set client guidelines, not the office guidelines, not the estate agent's rules. It's the client's rules, and that's the difference with us. We're flexible around that, and if it means for me, we run the business. So if it means for me that I do a 7:45 one evening, I might come into the office at 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock the next day, but the office doesn't need to be open for the public, and I'm still available on my phone, but I might just walk my daughter to school the next morning as a sort of counterbalance.
I was going to say, I play football Saturday and Sunday mornings, so that's the only thing I really care about at the moment in terms of my weekends. So, but I'm doing viewings every Saturday afternoon to evening and every Sunday. And people can't believe, they go, oh, do you do viewings on Sundays?
And it's you doing the viewing.
And I'm like, of course I'll do a viewing on a Sunday for absolutely no issue, because it's absolutely fine. So I don't mind doing that, and it's me doing it. And if I do a few extra hours on a Sunday, like you say, probably have a couple of hours off Monday morning. It's not going to cause any issue to anyone. It's perfect. So I think the flexibility is key.
Appointments is a big part of making the industry better, I think, for the vendor, for the buyer, for the tenant, the landlord, the developer, because if it's done correctly with experience, enthusiasm and facts, then everyone gets a better experience, rather than this is the office diary, these are the office opening hours, these are the part-time viewers on the weekend. The appointment is so key to get that right price for the vendor.
Anybody can open a door to let somebody walk in.
This is where it's different.
Absolutely.